All right, let's just dive right into this, because this story is absolutely wild. Imagine waking up in a room you've literally never seen before, and the walls are covered in this creepy, bloody text that just vanishes the second you open your eyes. That's the exact chilling reality our main guy, Izu Fangu, is abruptly thrust into in surviving the time loop. So, he's lying there, totally confused, when suddenly a woman's voice calls him husband. Sounds somewhat normal, right? Well, here's the terrifying baseline rule of his new reality. The second he shows even a tiny hint of recognizing her horrifying true form, her jaw unhinges and she devours him whole, and then, bam, he wakes up right back in bed. Fangyu quickly figures out a horrific truth. His wife is a literal monster, and as she knows that he can actually see what she is, she strikes. You've got to look at this grueling timeline of psychological torture he goes through. It's like the worst video game loop imaginable. He dies on the 6th loop from poor acting, the 8th from a failed escape, and by the 13th, he even dies just for pretending to like the gross breakfast she makes. It takes 18 incredibly violent deaths in that apartment for Fengwei to become completely, totally desensitized. The huge takeaway here? When you're trapped with inescapable trauma, absolute zero-reaction emotional apathy is literally your only shield.
Now you might be wondering, what actually happens to a human mind after being eaten alive 18 times? Yeah, it completely snaps. Fangu finally manages to step outside, only to realize the real world is a red-skied hellscape just crawling with deformed monsters. And his reaction? Instead of crying or giving up, he just starts laughing like an absolute psychopath. He realizes that in this corrupted, messed up dimension, he is not going to feel a single ounce of guilt slaughtering every last one of them.
But to survive this blood-red world, we need to understand the bizarre lore of the threats he's facing. There are basically two types of ghosts he observes on his walk to work. First, you have the irrational aggressors. These are phantoms that swing giant blades right at you, but they just pass completely harmlessly through physical matter, like air. Then, you have the human mimics, creatures exactly like his wife. They perfectly mimic humans, but they only materialize and kill you if you acknowledge them. So surviving here literally means looking a deadly monster in the eyes and ignoring the blade swinging at your face. Crazy, right? Fangu finally makes it to his real estate job, probably hoping for a break, but no such luck. There's this chilling overlap happening. A haunted, dilapidated hospital has violently merged with his office building. So now, Fangu and all his coworkers are trapped in this darkened, blood-stained nightmare version of their workplace, completely cut off from the real world. And the horror just escalates in the darkness as coworkers start vanishing one by one. But Fangu? He is totally unfazed. He actually sits there and runs the chilling math on this unseen threat. He figures out it takes the monster exactly 3 minutes to consume a man and 2 minutes for a woman. So he coldly turns to the group and announces they have roughly 20 minutes before the entire room is eaten alive. Okay, so how do they get out of this? A coworker named Tang explains the twisted magic system of this world. To actually fight back, you have to become a spiritual master, and there's a very dangerous, specific way to do it. Step 1. Simulate extreme emotional trauma, literally hovering between life and death. Step 2. Make direct physical contact with a ghost to let its power invade your soul. Well, Fengshu's 18 brutal deaths perfectly fulfilled Step 1. Now, he just needs a ghost. And his chance arrives almost instantly. The ghost doctor drops right out of the ceiling. It's a gruesome scene. A coworker named Fifi starts begging for her life, and the ghost just descends on her. In this blindingly fast, terrifying display of advanced scalpel techniques, the creature strikes Fifi down, and a literal rain of blood paralyzes the rest of the group with fear. Seeing his golden opportunity, Fangu calculates that the absolute safest time to touch the ghost is while she's distracted eating. So he sneaks up, pats her inverted leg, and waits for that sweet power transfer. But instead of supernatural energy, he just feels cold plastic. He made a hilarious yet totally fatal miscalculation. Fifi had silicone implants. The ghost finished the real flesh early, instantly slices Fangu's neck, and boom, triggers another time loop. Now that Fangu is utilizing these time loops as literal checkpoints, he realizes he needs 5 uninterrupted minutes standing near the ghost doctor to actually absorb her energy. He looks around at his terrified, selfish coworkers who are already pushing each other into harm's way, and he makes a really dark decision. He completely sheds his humanity and declares, everyone here is just a tool. And he actively commits to this betrayal. To secure that 5-minute feeding window, Fangu brutally sacrifices them. He kicks Tang to cause immobilizing internal bleeding and violently sweeps the leg of the chubby coworker, crippling them both, just to maximize his distraction time. While the ghost doctor descends on them, Fengu just stands there, close enough to catch the splashing blood on his face, genuinely enjoying the slaughter.
Finally, the ghost's cursed energy invades his body, and it is an agonizing process. It feels like his brain and heart are turning to blocks of solid ice. All of his accumulated trauma, those 20-plus deaths, and the immense physical pain all materialize in this blinding flash. A glowing red sphere of spiritual energy forms right in his chest. Fengu has officially awakened his unique, pain-based abilities.
So he's powered up, right? Testing his newly sharpened senses, Fengu delivers a spiritually infused, full-force punch directly to the ghost's face. And she barely even flinches. Realizing his raw power is still way too weak to do any real damage, Fengu makes a desperate play. He dives across the floor and manages to steal her heavy, curse-infused scalpel.
While stealing her weapon completely sets off the ghost's relentless hyperfast fury, what follows is just a frantic, brutal cycle of death. Fengu sprints for the east gate, fatal neckbite, reset. He tries the north gate elevator, ambushed the exact second the doors open, reset.
It's wild to watch, because Fengui is basically weaponizing his own repeated deaths as this morbid form of future sight. He sprints for the south gate next, but he just keeps dying again and again. Yet, the guy absolutely refuses to accept defeat, continuously pushing his new pain-strengthened body to its absolute limits with every bloody reset.
And then, on the nth loop, it finally clicks. He has her slaughter patterns entirely memorized. She lunges, he sidesteps the fatal strike perfectly. She swings, he ducks flawlessly. All that accumulated pain has passively supercharged his physical speed. He's now flawlessly evading a creature that, just a few loops ago, was killing him in the blink of an eye.
Backing away, Fengu spots a dark doorway, assuming it's finally the exit. But then, something chilling happens. The enraged ghost doctor just stops. She's trembling in absolute terror and refuses to pursue him any further. Fengu realizes this doorway isn't an exit at all. It's an abyss so horrifying it actually scares the monsters. But left with literally no other choice, Fengu steps right into the silent, consuming void. He opens his eyes and finds himself in what looks like the normal world right outside the academy. But Fengu isn't relieved at all. His mind is so distorted now, his desires violently shifted. Running back to his empty apartment, he's actually furious, because escaping that dimension robbed him of his ultimate goal, violently murdering his monster wife. He's just left sitting there, completely hollow. But then reality starts creeping in, or rather breaking down. He gets a news alert that Bo Academy completely burned to the ground, and get this, Fengu's own corpse was supposedly found in the wreckage. Then a terrifying, bloody, floating eye physically possesses his phone screen. And if that wasn't enough, his boss, who we know is definitely dead, texts the group chat demanding everyone come into the office. So Fengu actually goes to work. He walks into his completely normal-looking office, calmly walks right up to his supposedly alive boss, pulls out the cursed ghost scalpel he brought back with him, and just executes the guy on the spot to test reality. As the boss falls, all the normal coworkers start inflating and grotesquely transforming. The normal world was a total lie. Fengu is trapped in a deeply twisted, multi-layered false reality. So I'll leave you with this. What would you do if you couldn't trust a single layer of your own reality?